I sold my company for $900 million and kept it secret. I showed up at my parents' door homeless to see if they'd help. They called me a disgrace and slammed the door. Before we dive in, please take a second to subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. It means more than you know. Now let's continue this story. The wire transfer confirmation glowed on my phone screen. $900 million. $900 million. I, Ashley Richardson, had just sold the tech company I'd built from my studio apartment 7 years ago. My hands trembled as I stared at those numbers, but not from excitement. From something darker brewing inside me. Congratulations, Ms. Richardson, my lawyer said through the phone. You're officially... Don't say it, I interrupted, my voice hollow. I was standing in my penthouse overlooking the city, surrounded by minimalist furniture and maximum emptiness. The same emptiness I'd felt my entire life. You see, success hadn't filled the void my family carved into my chest 20 years ago. At 15, when I told my parents I wanted to study computer science instead of becoming a nurse like my mother wanted, my father called me stupid and ungrateful. My older brother Leroy laughed, saying I'd never amount to anything. My younger sister Judith said I was trying to be white by choosing tech over their traditional expectations. I left home at 18 with $200 and rage for fuel. Built my company through 80-hour weeks, ramen dinners, and rejection after rejection. Never called home. Never visited. They never reached out either. But last month I saw my mother's Facebook post. Some children forget where they came from. Success means nothing without family values. The comments from relatives I barely remembered piled on, calling me selfish, accusing me of abandoning them. That post sparked something dangerous in me. Yes. I wanted to know if they'd love me broke the way they never loved me striving. I spent 3 days transforming myself from tech mogul to invisible nobody. Designer clothes went into storage. My luxury car stayed parked. I withdrew $500 cash, the only money I'd access for this experiment. My assistant thought I'd lost my mind. Ashley, what are you doing? Jennifer asked, watching me pack a worn duffel bag. Testing a hypothesis, I said, pulling my hair into a simple ponytail. No makeup. Thrift store jeans. A faded jacket I'd bought for $15. I looked in the mirror and saw the girl who left home. Broke, desperate, invisible. Jennifer knew my history. She'd been with me since year 2 when we were just 5 employees in a cramped office. They don't deserve this chance, she said softly. Maybe not. But I need to know. I disabled my social media accounts, left my credit cards with Jennifer, and bought a bus ticket. 7 hours back to my hometown, watching America scroll past my window. Every mile felt like descending into my past. The woman next to me made small talk. Visiting family? She asked cheerfully. Something like that, I replied, my stomach churning. What if they welcomed me? What if poverty was the key to their love all along? What if I'd been wrong about them? But deeper down, in the part of me that still carried every cruel word, every dismissive laugh, every moment of being told I wasn't enough, I knew better. My phone buzzed. Jennifer, last chance to turn back. I turned it off. No safety net. No proof of who I'd become. Just Ashley coming home with nothing, needing help. The neighborhood looked smaller, shabbier than my memories painted it. Cracked sidewalks. Chain link fences. The corner store where I'd stolen candy bars because there was never enough food at home still stood there, windows now barred. My parents' house sat at the end of Maple Street. A small brick ranch with peeling paint and an overgrown lawn. My father's old truck in the driveway, rusted and dented. I could see movement through the curtains. Life continuing without me just as it had for 10 years. My heart hammered against my ribs. I'd negotiated million-dollar deals with Silicon Valley sharks without this level of fear. But standing on the sidewalk clutching my cheap duffel bag, I was 15 again. Worthless. Wrong. Not enough. Just walk up and knock, I whispered to myself. Before I could move, the front door opened. Leroy stepped out, now 35 and thick around the middle, a beer in his hand. He didn't see me. He was on his phone laughing about something. Yeah, man, still living at home, he said. Mom and Dad don't charge rent, so why leave? He walked to his car, drove off without a glance my direction. My successful older brother who'd mocked my ambitions was unemployed and living with our parents. The irony tasted like rust and vindication. I forced my feet forward. Up the cracked walkway. Past the garden my mother once loved, now full of weeds. The doorbell didn't work. It never did. I knocked instead. Movement inside. Footsteps. The door opened 6 inches, security chain attached. My mother's face appeared in the gap. Older. Harder. Her eyes scanned me without recognition. "Whatever you're selling, we don't want it," she said. "Mama," I whispered. "It's me. Ashley." My mother's eyes widened, and for one heartbeat, I thought I saw something soft flicker there. But it died as quickly as it sparked. Her face hardened into the expression I remembered too well. The look that said I was a disappointment. "Ashley." She said my name like a curse. "What do you want?" The words caught in my throat. I'd rehearsed this, but standing here, the script evaporated. "I need help, Mama. I'm in trouble. I lost my job, my apartment. I have nowhere to go." The security chain rattled but didn't release. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. "And you think you can just show up here after 10 years? No calls. No visits. No money sent home." I was building something. Building what? Excuses. She looked me up and down, disgust plain on her face. "Look at you. Exactly what your father said you'd become. A failure." The words hit like physical blows. "Mama, please. I just need a few days. I can sleep on the couch. I won't be any trouble." "David," she called over her shoulder. "Come here." My father appeared, bigger than I remembered, his face weathered and mean. He took one look at me and laughed, a cruel, bitter sound that echoed through my childhood. Well, the genius returns," he said. "Where's all that success you were chasing, girl? Where's that big computer job going to take you?" "I fell on hard times," I said, hating how small my voice sounded. "I'm asking for help. As your daughter." "Daughter." My father stepped closer to the door. "Daughters don't abandon their families. Daughters don't think they're better than everyone else." "Dad, please," I said, my voice cracking authentically despite knowing this was a test. The rejection was real, even if my circumstances weren't. "I made mistakes. I should have stayed in touch. But I'm desperate now. I'm your daughter." My father's jaw clenched. "You stopped being my daughter when you decided you were too good for this family. Too smart. Too ambitious." He spat that last word like poison. "Thought you were going to conquer the world with your computers. I was just trying to make something of myself." "Make something of yourself?" My mother's voice rose sharply. "What was wrong with being like us? We provided for you. We gave you everything. But nothing was good enough for Ashley. Ashley had to be special." The venom in her voice was staggering. This wasn't disappointment or hurt feelings. This was rage. Pure, undiluted resentment that I dared to want more than they had. "I never said you weren't good enough," I tried to explain. "I just wanted something different." "Different means better," my father interrupted. "Don't play dumb now. You thought you were better than your family, better than your community. Chasing white dreams in white spaces." There was the accusation that had haunted my teenage years. That choosing tech, choosing education, choosing ambition somehow meant rejecting my blackness, rejecting them. "That's not fair," I said, feeling tears build behind my eyes. "I can be proud of where I come from and still want to grow." "Grow?" My mother laughed harshly. "Look how much you've grown. Right back here, broke and begging. That growth work out for you." Behind them I heard movement. Judith appeared, now 28, her eyes widening when she saw me. "Oh my God," she said. "Ashley." Judith pushed past our parents to the door. For a moment I felt hope bloom stupidly in my chest. My little sister. The one who'd followed me around as a kid, who I'd read stories to, who'd cried when I left home. "Ashley, what happened to you?" she asked, her eyes scanning my thrift store clothes, my worn bag. "You look rough." "I'm going through a hard time," I said carefully. "Lost my job. My apartment. I was hoping that you could crash here." Judith's expression shifted, sympathy replaced by something calculating. After ghosting the family for a decade? Judith, I know I haven't been around. Haven't been around? She laughed, but there was an edge to it. You disappeared. You were too busy being successful to remember where you came from. At least that's what we thought. Guess the success was imaginary, huh? The glee in her voice was unmistakable. She was enjoying this. My failure validated every jealous comment, every resentful jab she'd made when we were younger. Look, I made mistakes, I said, my voice stronger now. But I'm family. I'm asking for help. Isn't that what families do? Families are there for each other all the time, my mother said coldly. Not just when they need something. You made your choice, Ashley. You chose yourself over us. Now live with it. Wait, Judith said, holding up a hand. She pulled out her phone. This is too good not to document. Hold on. My blood ran cold as she aimed her camera at me. Judith, don't. Say hi to social media, she said, already recording. Look who came crawling back, y'all. Miss Too Good for Her Family returns. Judith, please don't post that, I begged, genuine panic rising despite this being a test. I hadn't anticipated being put on social media. My anonymity was crucial. If anyone recognized me, the whole experiment would collapse. Why not? Judith asked, her thumb hovering over the share button. You never cared about embarrassing us. All those years, never visiting, never calling. Do you know how many times people asked about you? How many times we had to say we didn't know where you were or what you were doing? I was working. You were hiding, my father interjected. Ashamed of us. Well, now we're ashamed of you. How does that feel? Leroy's truck pulled back into the driveway. He climbed out, saw me, and his face transformed into cruel delight. No way, Ashley. What the hell? Your sister needs a place to stay, my mother said, her voice dripping with disgust. Lost her fancy job apparently. Leroy walked up to the porch, looking me over like I was a stray dog. Damn. Life hit you hard, huh? Where's all that ambition now? Where's that, I'm going to change the world energy you had? I remembered the last conversation we'd had 10 years ago. He'd been 25, already given up on his own dreams, working at a warehouse. He told me I was wasting my time, that people like us don't become tech entrepreneurs, that I should accept reality. When I said I wouldn't quit, he'd laughed in my face. I'm still trying, I said quietly. I just need help getting back on my feet. Help? Leroy snorted. From us? The family you were too good for? That's rich. Leroy, I never said. You didn't have to say it. You lived it. Every day you stayed gone, you said it loud and clear. Please, I said, and I wasn't entirely acting anymore. The pain of their rejection, test or not, cut deep into old wounds. I understand you're angry. I understand I wasn't there. But I'm here now and I'm asking, begging for help. Just a few days. My father stepped out onto the porch, filling the doorway with his presence. He'd always been good at taking up space, making everyone else feel small. You want to know what I think, Ashley? I waited, my heart pounding. I think you deserve exactly what you got, he said, his voice low and mean. You thought you were special. You thought the rules didn't apply to you. You spat on everything we taught you about family, about loyalty, about knowing your place. And now reality caught up with you. Knowing my place? The words escaped before I could stop them. What does that mean, Dad? It means understanding that not everyone gets to be extraordinary, he said. It means being grateful for what you have instead of always reaching for more. It means respecting your family instead of chasing fantasies. Something inside me cracked. So I should have stayed small, stayed limited, never tried to be more than what you decided I could be. You should have stayed humble, my mother said. Pride comes before a fall, Ashley. And look at you now. Fallen. The satisfaction in her voice was undeniable. She was happy about this. They all were. My suffering validated their own choices, their own limitations, their own decision to never reach beyond the familiar. You're right, I said softly, and they all leaned in, eager to hear me admit defeat. I fell. And I came here because I thought family meant something. I thought blood mattered. It does, my father said. But you forgot that years ago. I'm not asking for money, I said, desperate now to see how far they'd go. I'm not asking for much. Just a couch. A few days to figure things out. Please. My mother crossed her arms. And what would the neighbors think? Is taking in a daughter who abandoned us? A daughter who clearly made bad decisions and now wants to be rescued. Let them think whatever they want, I pleaded. Since when do you care what the neighbors think? Since you made us look like fools, Leroy said. For 10 years, we've had to answer questions about you. Where's Ashley? What's Ashley doing? Is Ashley coming home for Christmas? Do you know how humiliating that was? Having no answers. You could have called me, I said. The phone works both ways. We raised you, my father's voice rose to a roar. We fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years. We don't chase after ungrateful children. You walk away from us, you stay gone. David, my mother said, putting a hand on his arm. The neighbors are watching. I glanced around. Sure enough, curtains were twitching. Faces peering out. The street remembers everything. The street was witnessing my humiliation. I made mistakes, I said, tears now flowing freely. I should have called. I should have visited. I was angry and hurt and stubborn, and I'm sorry. But I'm asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for help. Isn't that what the Bible says? Forgive 70 times 7. My mother's face hardened further. Don't quote scripture at me, girl. You don't get to use God's word when you've been living in sin, living selfishly, living like family means nothing. So that's it? I asked. You're just going to turn me away? You turned away from us first, my father said. The door slammed in my face with such force that I stumbled backward. The sound echoed down the street, a final punctuation to my family's rejection. I stood there stunned, staring at the peeling paint of that closed door. Behind it I could hear them. Talking. Laughing. The TV turning on. Life continuing as if I hadn't just stood there begging for basic human compassion. I walked down the steps in a daze. The neighbor across the street, Mrs. Walker, was standing in her yard. She'd known me as a child. Our eyes met and she quickly looked away, scurrying back inside. The shame was contagious. I walked to the corner store, sat on the curb outside and let myself cry. Not for the test, for the truth it revealed. I'd known they were toxic. I'd known they'd resented my ambition. But some small, stupid part of me had hoped I was wrong. That love existed underneath the resentment. That blood meant something. It didn't. An hour later, Leroy drove past slowly. He rolled down his window. You still here? Pathetic. There's a shelter about 2 miles west. They serve dinner at 6. He laughed and drove off. I pulled out my phone, still off. I could end this right now. One call to Jennifer and a car service would retrieve me. I could go back to my penthouse, my life, my success. But something in me needed to see this through. Needed to document every moment of their cruelty. I walked to the shelter Leroy mentioned. A tired-looking woman at the desk handed me paperwork. First time? She asked gently. Yes, I whispered. It gets easier, she said, but we both knew she was lying. That night, I lay on a cot surrounded by women with real problems. Real homelessness. Real desperation. And I felt like a fraud. 3 days at the shelter taught me more about humanity than 10 years in boardrooms. Sarah, a single mother, shared her sandwich with me. Carmen, who'd lost everything to medical bills, braided my hair. These strangers with nothing showed me more kindness than my family with everything. On the 4th day, I made my way back to my parents' neighborhood. I wasn't sure why. Maybe I needed to see them one more time. Maybe I needed closure. I stood across the street, hidden behind a parked truck, just watching their house. The front door opened. My mother emerged, dressed nicely, carrying a casserole dish. My father followed, laughing about something. They got into their truck and drove off. I waited 20 minutes, then walked up to the house. Through the front window I could see Judith and Leroy inside playing video games on a massive new TV. The house that couldn't accommodate me for a few days clearly had room for 2 adult children living rent-free. Mrs. Walker appeared behind me. Ashley, she said softly. I turned. She looked uncomfortable, guilty. I'm sorry about the other day, she said. I should have said something. I should have helped. It's okay, I said automatically. It's not. She glanced at my parents' house. I've known your family a long time. Your mama. She always resented you. Since you were a girl. You were too smart, too ambitious. It made her feel small. That's not my fault, I whispered. No, it's not. But some people can't separate their own failures from other people's success. They see you reaching higher and feel like you're saying they're not good enough. She paused. For what it's worth, everyone on this street knew you'd be special. We're proud of you even if they're not. I'm homeless, Mrs. Walker. I'm not special right now. She studied me closely, her eyes narrowing. Are you though? Mrs. Walker's question hung in the air. Before I could respond, she smiled sadly. I may be old, but I'm not blind. Those clothes don't fit right. They're too new despite looking worn. Your hands are manicured. And you carry yourself like someone playing a part, not living it. My heart stopped. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. She gestured toward my parents' house. You came back to test them. To see if they'd help you when you had nothing. She shook her head. Oh, honey. I could have told you how that would end. I couldn't maintain the pretense anymore. Not with her. Why? I asked, my voice breaking. Why do they hate me so much? Mrs. Walker sighed deeply. Your mama got pregnant with you at 16. Had to drop out of school, marry your father. He had dreams once, wanted to be a teacher. Your daddy wanted to open his own business. But kids came, bills piled up, dreams died. When you were born, your grandmother said you'd be different. And your mother resented you from that moment on. The revelation hit like a punch. She resented me for being what she wanted to be. She resented you for having possibilities she'd lost. And when you actually pursued those possibilities, it was salt in old wounds. Mrs. Walker touched my arm gently. You represented everything she gave up. Every time you succeeded, it reminded her of her failures. That's not fair, I whispered. No, it's not. But pain rarely is. She paused. What will you do now? I looked at that house. The house where I'd spent 18 years feeling wrong, feeling too much, feeling like an imposition. I'm going to stop hoping they'll change. Good, Mrs. Walker said. Sometimes the family we make is better than the family we're born into. She walked away, leaving me alone with the truth. I stood outside that house one last time, memorizing every detail. The chipped paint. The broken doorbell. The dead garden. This was where I came from, but it wasn't who I was. It never had been. I walked back to the shelter, collected my bag, and turned my phone on. 57 messages from Jennifer. I called her. Thank God, she answered immediately. Are you okay? Send a car, I said. I'm done. 2 hours later, I was back in my penthouse, showered, wearing my own clothes. Jennifer sat across from me, waiting. They didn't just reject me, I said quietly. They enjoyed it. They've been waiting 10 years for me to fail so they could be proven right. I'm sorry, Jennifer said. Don't be. I needed to know. I looked at the city lights outside my window, a view I'd earned through sweat, tears, and relentless determination. I spent so much of my life trying to prove something to people who were never going to be proud of me. Because my success was their failure. My freedom was their cage. Over the next week, I made decisions. I established a foundation for women in tech from marginalized communities. $100 million initial funding. I wrote checks to the shelter where I'd stayed, to Mrs. Walker for finally telling me the truth, to every person who'd shown me kindness when I had nothing. My family. I sent one final message through my lawyer. I came home hoping to find love. I found the truth instead. Thank you for finally being honest about how you feel. I release you from any obligation to me, and I release myself from needing your approval. I wish you peace. They tried to contact me after that, when rumors of my sale hit the news. Suddenly I was their daughter again. Their pride. Their success story. I never responded. Some families are born from blood. Others are built from choice. I chose mine carefully after that. Jennifer, Sarah from the shelter who now works for my foundation, Carmen whose medical bills I paid off, Mrs. Walker who I visit monthly. They call me by my name not as their savior or their meal ticket, but as someone worthy of love without conditions. And that $900 million? It's building a world where other girls like me, too ambitious, too smart, too much, find family in their dreams instead of losing family because of them. I'm Ashley Richardson. I sold my company for $900 million, and I learned that sometimes the most valuable thing you can do is walk away from people who only want to see you fall. I learned that being a disgrace to the wrong people is actually the highest honor. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Your support helps me share more stories of resilience and redemption. Remember, you are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is choose yourself. Remember to comment below about a time you had to choose yourself over toxic family. You're not alone. Subscribe for more emotional stories every week.